Hello everyone, I'm Redwan Khan and welcome to Real Talk with Redwan, where we give you real topics, real opinions, and real conversations. It's coming very soon. Most 2001 era kids, they're going to be able to vote because that's their right. They're becoming able to vote. They're coming of age and it's time to vote. And I feel like I can't stress enough how important it is to vote. All these years we were able to experience 3 elections, and one of them, it was historic. We elected the first African American president of the United States of America. So I request everybody that's 17 and a half or even 18 to get registered to vote, because it's really important. Your future's in stake. How you live in the future and our future generation is in play. The economy, gun control, even college debt and student loans, they're all important. And if you feel like you want your voice to be heard, you should vote, because your voice matters. You have to utilize your vote and show people and in the government that what you stand for is important. And I feel like if you use your ability to vote, you're getting your point across to the government that, hey, I'm important and I want to vote. In Georgia, specifically, we're having 2 major elections coming up in November, and both of them are 2 Senate seats. One for incumbent David Perdue, who's up for elections, he's Republican, and one for our other senator's seat, which was Johnny Isakson's seat, who was another Republican. And he's retiring because of his health. He's becoming weak and he's old and he's retiring. So I feel like these major 2 elections matter because Georgia is a purple state, which means we could go Democratic anytime. Georgia's always historically been a red state, ruby red state, but now it's slowly over time is becoming purple. And that's really due to just the race in the demographic in Georgia. Over time, Georgia's becoming more brown and more African American and more just diverse in general. And I think we have a really good shot at getting these 2 seats in the Senate unlocked. And why those 2 Senate seats matter is because without those 2 Senate seats, we get to make major decisions, whether that's impeaching the president, which has really come up recently, or whether it's having rights of like abortion, and these like senators get to vote whether they want to approve that or deny that. And I feel like it's very important that we should vote and get your voice across and get what you believe in. Why impeachment is important right now in the coming news is because this past week, President Trump got an impeachment inquiry on him. The House Democrats, which is made up of 435 members, and most of those, the majority is the Democrats. So this past week, they're deciding on impeaching President Trump. What is impeachment? Impeachment is usually a political maneuver used by whatever party is at power at that time, whether it's Republican or Democrat. Impeachment is used as like a slap on the wrist of a president that's not doing what other presidents done before. The standards of the presidency is looked upon really critically by other parties. So why did President Trump get an impeachment inquiry? Recently in the news, we found out that President Trump supposedly talked to the president of the Ukraine, President Zelensky, and apparently on the line, he talked about getting dirt on Joe Biden. Who's Joe Biden? Joe Biden is the Democratic hopeful who is running in the Democratic primary right now, who hopes to challenge President Trump, which is likely because he's leading in the polls as of right now. So the Democrats of the House, they decided that this was abuse of power. The President of the United States, highest power in the free world, he's all the way up here. He's using his power to ask another president of a different country to get dirt on one of his hopeful opponents. Why is this wrong? In the Constitution, that's considered abuse of power. He was using his position to get information on somebody that he's going to go against. Now, if you did that, if you got information from a foreign power on one of your opponents, that'd be illegal, because you're getting another foreign power into our election. And after the Russia investigation, I think this is the worst thing President Trump could do. He's going after another foreign power, asking for help in the coming election. And the Democrats have finally had it. The Russia investigation didn't really go well for the Democrats because Robert Mueller didn't really find any good evidence on Trump and saying that he was guilty. He implied that President Trump did stuff illegally, but he never convicted the president of doing anything. So the House Democrats didn't really convict him of anything. Why this is important with this call, that was in the past. That was during when he was getting elected from the Republican primaries to get elected to face against Hillary Clinton. That was before, in the past. Why the House Democrats are doing this now, why they're starting an impeachment inquiry now instead of before, is because it's happening in the present time. And they want to prevent President Trump or even any other future president in the future from doing this, getting help from a foreign power to help and meddle in the elections. Nobody wants that. That's unconstitutional. Why would you want another foreign power getting involved in our elections? The United States is the best and first democracy of the free world. We're a leader and we're an image of what democracy is. And President Trump is just going to another power and asking for help in the election. First of all, that's abuse of power. He's using his role as a president to get, that's a personal thing. He's benefiting himself. Him getting information on Joe Biden won't help the country. The country won't thrive in the economy and life because President Trump's going to get dirt on Joe Biden. This is obviously a personal thing. Trump wants some dirt on Joe Biden, so it's easier for him during election season, during this November, to get an easier time against Joe Biden, which is probably the person that's going to go up against him, because he is leading the Democratic primary right now. So the House, they have the majority. They can impeach him anytime they want, but Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, she's taking some time to review the information, make sure that everything is good before they actually start impeachment proceedings. When impeachment proceedings actually start, the president is impeached. He would be the third president in history to get impeached. Number one being Andrew Johnson during the Civil War era, who did get impeached. Second would be Bill Clinton, who also got impeached. And I think Trump is a likely number three that's going to get impeached. But what's different about impeachment and removal? Impeachment is a political thing. Impeachment doesn't mean as soon as President Trump gets impeached, doesn't mean that he's going to be kicked out of office. No, that's not impeachment. Impeachment is bringing the public on light charges that the president has committed. During this time, Trump looks kind of guilty. He talked to another foreign president. He withheld aid that was planned to go. There was supposed to be aid money given to the Ukraine, $200 million, that the Senate approved, and which is going to go to the Ukraine no matter what happened. But during the call with President Trump and the president of the Ukraine, Trump was supposedly calling to congratulate him, which he did. The transcript did show that President Trump congratulated the Ukrainian president over his big victory. However, throughout the call, you could see that multiple times Trump pushed the president of Ukraine many times to get dirt on Joe Biden. This is a recurring thing throughout the whole call they hear. Multiple times Trump won. So why would he need dirt on Joe Biden? Why is this important? Because of course he's going to be a likely opponent of the president. So to have an impeachment proceeding start, the House needs to have 218 votes. That means 218 people need to agree and vote yes on impeachment. As soon as they vote yes, 218 members, Republican or Democrats, the president will be impeached. That's no matter what. The House will confirm his impeachment. However, what happens in the Senate is different. The Senate is the jury and the judge. They basically get to decide if the president's going to remain in power or are they going to remove him. You need 2/3 of the Senate to confirm that a president will be impeached, which is about 67 senators. Each state gets 2 senators, so we have 100 senators. So out of those 100 senators, you need 67 of them to agree on impeachment and removal of the president. Right now, as it stands, the Republican Party has 51 senators and the Democrats have 45, with 2 independents, which usually caucus with the Democrats. They usually, go with what the Democrats vote. So that means 20 senators from the Republican Party have to let go of their party, and they have to decide, are they going to be for their party or are they going to be for the Constitution? And it's hard. Throughout this couple years, we really got a stand with how much Trump's base supports, how much they support him and defend him no matter what happens. But unlikely, this is really bad for him. This is a present case. It's not like Russia. It happened in the past. They don't have current proof. However, for this one, they have current proof. And I feel like the impeachment will go through. But I don't think that the Senate will ultimately remove the president. He will become the third president to get impeached, but I don't think that he's going to actually be removed from office. But in case he does get removed from office, what does that mean? That means President Trump, he will no longer, in however many years he lives, be able to serve as a government or anything government related. That means no mayor, no governor, no senator. He can never run for that if he gets removed from office, which would mean that his vice president, Mike Pence, would be the official new president of the United States. So what does that mean for the 2020 election? If President Trump does get impeached and removed from office, that means that Mike Pence, the current president during that time, the vice president right now, he would go out against the Democratic primary. He would go against the Democratic primary challenger, whether that's Joe Biden, Elizabeth Warren, or even Bernie Sanders. This looks very good for the Democrats, I'd say. Getting Trump out, a polarizing figure who made breaking news in 2016. Everything changed. The times became weird as soon as President Trump got elected into presidency. From 2016 to now, times have been weird. Up feels like down and down feels like up. Nothing seems right. But over the years, it's normal now. We feel like that's normal. Trump is such a polarizing figure in politics and the US government right now that many things that we've never even heard of in the Constitution is being called out because the founding fathers, they never expected somebody to do this and abuse the power of the presidency like this. So some of the things that we're hearing right now, whether it's impeachment inquiry or removal or actually getting a president removed, we don't hear that much often because it's never happened. No president's ever been removed from office. And I think this might be a first. But in case, usually I don't think that the president will be removed from office. He will be impeached, but I don't think he'll be removed from office. Why is that? Because the Republican base they're too strong. That means the Republicans need to lose 20 of their senators to go for impeachment. And remember, this is the Republican Party of the new. This is not the old Republican Party. The Republican Party of the old stood for conservative values, Christian values. They believed for what's the right way, the conservative way. They believed what's good remains good. But now the Republican Party has really changed. The Republican Party is confused. They don't know what to do. And I feel like senators purposely don't want to go for impeachment just because if the senators actually do publicly speak out against the president, they're afraid what the president will do to them. We know President Trump and what he does with Twitter. That's his main way of communicating to the public of what he feels and what he does. And I feel like senators are genuinely scared of President Trump. They feel like he will ruin their careers and probably ruin their chance of getting reelected. So I feel like that's why Republican senators and congressmen and congresswomen, they become quiet and just accepted of the times we live in now. Why? Because of President Trump. They're too afraid to go on him because they know that if they do go on him and impeachment or removal doesn't happen, they're not going to hear the end of it. They're probably going to get pushed out of office by President Trump. He's going to encourage all his voters, all his base to get rid of these senators because they'll be marked as traitors. So how did we even come up with this news of the leak, the phone calls? A member of the Intelligence Committee complained anonymously. He complained that he heard things in the phone call with the president and the president of Ukraine that he didn't feel that was right. He didn't feel that was constitutional. He felt confused and lost about what the president said. He never heard a president ever complain about getting dirt or meddling in the election. President Trump's used to getting foreign powers involved in elections like he did in 2016 in Russia, but he was never convicted because they couldn't find enough charges on him. But why this is important now, they need to do something, and they did. All these times, the House has always been quiet. They've been resilient to go on the president because they know if they do impeach the president, it might mean a big rising of Republicans. Because as we saw during the Supreme Court appointment of Brett Kavanaugh, we saw that when he got accused of sexual harassment and assault, the United States just became divided. People were either for him or people that weren't. They believed the women that convicted, they believed the women that thought that Kavanaugh assaulted them when they were in college. Some people believed the women, some people thought that they were lying just to tarnish Brett Kavanaugh's name. And what we saw, that was right before the 2018 midterm elections. And what we saw was a rise of Republican senators, representatives throughout the United States. It was meant to be a blue wave. The Democrats were supposed to take over everything, the Senate, the House. But it felt like kind of like a blue hose. Nothing really happened. The Republicans stood on and they got even more than they chewed for. The Republicans got more votes and even more seats than they expected. They expected to lose everything, but they didn't. Why? Because the Kavanaugh case made them very energetic. They felt like this man's career is being lost just because of the Democrats. The Democrats are purposely doing this just because they don't like Trump. So I feel like the impeachment is really risky right now. It's so close to the election. The election's in November 2020. It's coming. So I feel like what the Democrats do, whether they impeach him, is a big thing. It might impact the 2020 election very much. Republicans might come in numbers, and Democrats might not. The thing is, over time, the demographic of age is really important. Because what shows up in the elections is older people, people that actually listen, they're informed, they vote what they believe in. But what happens with most voters, they tend to not vote. Like just in the 2016 election, so many people didn't vote. Trump got around 62 million votes and Hillary got 63. There's a 1 million difference of popular vote. Trump still won the Electoral College and he became the president. But there was 100 million people that didn't vote. That's more than any member of them got the popular vote. That means that 100 million people didn't vote in that whole election. And that, look what's happening now. We have a president that's abusing his power as president and doing what he wants. But I don't get why people don't vote, but they like to criticize what's happening now. You had a chance during the 2016 election to let your voice be heard. Voting, it's really important. You let your voice be silenced. Why? Because you were lazy. You thought, this isn't gonna work. You know, Hillary's probably gonna beat Trump. That's the thing, you don't know anything. You thought that that Hillary was gonna beat Trump, but he didn't. And now most people that didn't vote, they're complaining. They're like, oh, Trump's so unconstitutional. He's such a bad president. But why didn't you vote? You had your chance to let your voice be heard, but you let it be silenced. You had the power to vote. It's a right as a citizen to vote. That's a commitment. That's the way you let the people represent you actually relate to you. When people vote for somebody in office, that shows their representation of what they are and what they believe in. So I don't get how people are mad at President Trump because you had a chance to vote against him, but you didn't. And now he represents you, and you can't do anything about it because you had your chance and you didn't do anything. And I feel like voting is always going to be a big thing in America. So many people over the years have fought for the right to vote. African Americans, women, they've all exercised their voices. They used their vote, they marched, they protested for what? The right to vote. And now, right now, we're abusing that power. We're not using it. So many countries around the world, they're jealous of our democracy. They're jealous of the chances we get, whether that's to vote or let our voices be heard or say anything about the leader in charge. They're jealous. But I don't get how we, as a privileged nation, we get the right to say anything we want, the right to vote for people that represent us, and yet we just ignore it. So I feel like the impeachment inquiry is going to go on. I feel like President Trump will be impeached, but I don't think he will be removed from office. But you don't have to be that way. You could decide your fate. So please register to vote. If you want to hear your voice and you don't think that President Trump represents you, vote. Get registered. There's going to be so many people, kids, 2001 era, they're becoming 18. They're going to have the right to vote. They're going to let their voices be heard. So I feel like if you're registered to vote, you're specifically telling the government no. No is no. We've had enough of this president who doesn't represent us, and we show them the point that we want somebody that represents us as a whole, not just a certain part of the population. We want our voices heard. We want to do something about it. And to do something about it, you have to register to vote and let your voices be heard. And vote in the upcoming elections, whether it's state, local, or even federal. Vote for whoever represents you, because those opportunities don't come for everybody. We're privileged as a democracy nation to have it, so use it. Upcoming elections in Georgia, like the senators I talked, we're going to have 2 senator races, and especially the general election of the president. So I feel like register to vote, let your voice be heard, and do what you think is best for America.